everybody, and welcome back to the WTF1 podcast, Charles Leclerc Victory Edition. It is, of course, the Austrian Grand Prix post-race. We're vibing. We are, well, I say we, I'm vibing. Tommy, maybe not so much, as you can see by his face. And welcome as well to Team WTF1, who are watching us live and having a great time on this Monday. And of course, you will see it on Tuesday if you are watching anywhere else. And also worth mentioning, this podcast is once again sponsored by the wonderful people at Elgato, our season-long partners, and making us sound, I'd say we're nearly there. We're nearly professionals with all this amazing equipment. Yeah, I know. I've just upgraded ourselves as Katie as Tommy moves his mic. But yes, thank you so much to Elgato for being our sponsors. And thank you to all of you for coming and joining us whilst I bask in the glory and turn on my smug face. So let's do some 3-word race reviews, shall we? The Pranjal _19, sad Carlos noises. Hi, Sevan, midfield was fun. Sophia VCC, track limits exceeded, and Etienne G. Peters, Ferrari is back? Question mark. All right, I don't think we need a question mark there, to be honest with you. Let's have
one
some
of them
faith.
Didn't finish, so.
To say one
it's
of
been
them's
1
on
minute,
fire.
Katie. It's been 1 minute, and you've already.
Katie hasn't had a tea, so we're going to get savage Katie today.
I'm really hurt. Like, honestly, if there's an FIA rant somewhere in Katie's brain, it's coming out. Don't you worry.
It's there.
It's there.
I reckon Katie's going to be like Twitch. There's Twitch Tommy, but there's going to be no T Katie, and she's just going to be absolutely in on everyone, calling all the drivers washed. She thinks they're all terrible.
One or the other.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We've all got our own. Well, you guys have got your own platforms. I don't know which one I go.
You need your alter ego.
Yeah, I do.
Charles Leclerc Victory, Charles Leclerc Pain. They're your alter egos.
They really are.
Depends on Ferrari strategies.
Indeed. So, yeah, there was obviously sad Carlos noises. Of course, Carlos just about to attack Verstappen and then conked out. The midfield was extremely fun. The track limits weren't so fun. And Ferrari is back. Get rid of the question mark. Right, my 3-word race review. Waited since Australia. Oh, it's been so long. It's been so blooming long since I can bask in the glory of a Charles Leclerc victory. When I thought it was all so easy, the last time Leclerc won, he was 43 points clear of George Russell in the standings. I've already bought the Charles Leclerc World Champion cape to put up on my wall, where Tommy, of course, has his orange Max cape for audio listeners. But it's been a long old slog. Ferrari have tried their very hardest for Leclerc not to win, but they finally pulled through, and a victory which was hard fought. He had to make 3 passes on Max Verstappen, and every single one of them felt good. Sorry, Tommy.
Was Grace born before or after Australia?
After Australia, so he hasn't won. Yeah,
he hasn't won a race since Grace has been born.
No, and she wore the onesie yesterday.
So you allowed,
Insane.
Tommy, to put the gift of the Ferrari onesie that I sent you onto Grace for the first time, and Leclerc won for the first time.
I got too cocky. I was like, no, Ferrari just bottling it this year. Yeah. All right, Matt, I'll put the onesie on. Nothing will happen. Boom.
And then they were quicker
Leclerc
than Red
P1.
Bull.
They were. That is 10 straight victories from 10 onesies.
Is it 10? I thought it was 9. Is it 10 now?
6. How many wins has Max got?
I don't want to
1,
know.
2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, yeah, 9 wins across 3 different sports. So
Because you did one for MotoGP.
One for MotoGP, one for Leeds in the football. They won. Max got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins with the onesie on, including the sprint. And then, Charles Leclerc, I can't believe it. It's scary now. It's actually scary.
And your tweet, by the way, of time, what was it? Time to end this championship once and for all. And it's just a screenshot of you seeing a Verstappen onesie all the way up to 1 year old. Wasn't it?
And I have ordered them.
Have you actually?
Haven't?
Yes, I have.
You are such a scumbag. You could have at least waited till they were level on points and then broken our hearts.
It depends how long it's going to take to deliver, so we'll see.
Oh, hopefully it's one of those dodgy
Get in
websites.
touch. Yeah,
arrives
never get
next
it.
year.
Yeah, it never arrives.
What was the email that you bought it with? No reason. I might just contact customer support.
What was the order number?
Yeah. Can I have your PIN number and mother's maiden name, please?
But yes, brilliant. So great to hear that you're now ruining everybody's lives apart from Max Verstappen fans. Thanks so much, Tommy. There's a question from Randy Yandek. What's Ferrari's pace due to suiting the track, upgrades, Grace's onesie, or a combination of all the above? I love how these questions are like this, or this, when they full well know it's a combination of all of them. But no, Ferrari I was going to say for the first time, it feels like in a while, but the last 5 or 6 races have been very chaotic from a Ferrari point of view. We've spoken about how many races Leclerc could have won had it not been for blunders or reliability. Ferrari finally don't have any, well, I say Ferrari, Charles Leclerc finally has no issues with his car and no issues with his strategy, and he wins the race. So I think it just highlights that the pace between them and Red Bull have not been that different so far this year. You'd have to admit that Max Verstappen has been quicker in a lot of the races. That's why Leclerc's had pole position and Max Verstappen has breezed through. This has been the first time we've seen a shift in Leclerc passing Verstappen for the victory. But I'm not sure how much of it you can put down to Ferrari maybe taking a step forward. I think it may have almost been Red Bull taking a slight step back. It seemed like Max was suffering with his tyres quite early on, and he just didn't have that pace. And he was concerned and speaking about on the team radio about he had lack of front grip, and some laps he had grip and others he didn't. So yeah, I think Red Bull maybe just, for whatever reason, you'd expect them at the Red Bull ring to be pretty unstoppable. But no, I don't think they had the perfect weekend, Red Bull. So yeah, another factor to add in there, Randy.
It's normally, the Red Bull ring has been quite good to Red Bull. Max is really good around there. They have never had 2 Red Bulls on the podium. It does tend to just be Max is very good around there and really suits him. But what was strange is normally we see the Red Bull straight line speed is really good. But yeah, Leclerc was all over the back of Max. It looked like he was a sitting duck a lot of the time. I mean, as much as it pains me to say it, his move on Max turn 4 was
juicy.
Very, very good. Dive bomb, completely caught him by surprise because you thought he was just going to go up the inside. Because Max he defended the first half, and then I think the rest of the race he was like, there's literally no point here. I think he was in championship mode, which is quite rare to see from Max Verstappen. But yeah, he didn't have anything to answer for. But yeah, it's not a case of like, whoa, Ferrari is suddenly here. It's just the fact that they didn't mess it up for a change, because Silverstone, they could have easily won. Obviously, Maxwell's going to win that. Canada, Sainz was really quick chasing Max. Ferrari did look very good there. Monaco, they're winning without the issue. Like Leclerc's winning that easy from pole without the strategy. And Spain, they're going to win. So it has, if you look at the actual pace of the season, it has changed a lot between Red Bull and Ferrari, who's best. It's just until yesterday, it was Red Bull seemed to be the ones, and especially in Max's hands, getting all the points. But yeah, it's a little bit concerning that they're very, very good. It's still quite a big points gap, but never say never, especially with the reliability. But I did read one thing, that Red Bull had new upgrades, and apparently they've added 10 kilos of weight to the car with their upgrades, which is probably not helping matters either.
No. Yeah, I think you're bang on when you say like the amount of reliability issues or strategy issues have definitely skewed the perception of like, oh, Red Bull are just going to run away with everything, because Ferrari have always been quick, but they've just had all of these issues that meant they haven't reached the checkered flag, or it's affected their pace or whatever, and they've not finished within the podium or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a mix of things, but I was surprised that Verstappen didn't run away with the victory. But also shout out to Charles Leclerc, because we've said through the first few races of the season, like Max Verstappen, we know he's Mr. Aggressive when it comes to his driving style. Like he is, some people haven't seen anything like it, but yeah, fair play to Charles Leclerc, playing him at his own game. Perhaps it was the desperation because he's had such a poor form of like last 5 races, and he's been speaking all weekend about how much he like desperately needed that victory. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I'm actually really happy to see Charles Leclerc back on the top step. So there you go.
Say that again.
Checks in the post.
Say that again. Yeah, keep going. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. Tommy, not so much. Next question from K_Moreiro. How do you think Ferrari will manage their drivers for the second half of the season, as neither driver wants to be labelled as the second driver? And we've seen evidence of drivers sometimes overriding team orders. Well, Ferrari, again, have another opportunity now to instill in the team that Carlos needs to support Charles Leclerc. He's lost 25 points. He was 11 behind Leclerc. He's now 36. Again, it just needs to be a clear, Sainz doesn't have to fall off the road every single time Leclerc's behind him, but there needs to be okay, well, look, in 3-4 laps, if you're not as quick as Leclerc and he's behind you, you have to let him through. And it's as simple as that. And they have to put their strongest foot forward, and that is Charles Leclerc this season. I don't necessarily think Sainz will disobey. I think Sainz was absolutely right in that situation in Silverstone to disobey the team order that was made to him, where, as much as it hurt me to say, where he was told to leave 10 car lengths behind Leclerc for the safety car and try and protect Leclerc. Now, that was Ferrari's mistake of not pitting Leclerc. Sainz knows that, there's a very fast Hamilton behind me. There's Perez as well. If I get overtaken, neither of us are winning this race. So Sainz was absolutely right to disobey that team order. But we've also seen Sainz obey a lot of team orders as well when Ferrari have said, swap the cars. But the problem is that cutthroat telling him to swap the cars. It's always target lap time this, target lap time that. There's delay. There's, do we do it? Do we not? But I think Sainz has actually been a very cooperative teammate when he's been told to do something. So I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of problems there as long as Ferrari are sort of set and
get a backbone.
Yeah, exactly. Just make the decision.
Very much so. I mean, Carlos is, put in his own strategies with Monaco, for example. So the guy clearly must have some sort of, like the angel and the devil. He's got someone on each side saying, Carlos, don't do it. Don't follow their instructions. Another one being like, okay, that's okay. You can follow that one. But I'm surprised Ferrari haven't implemented something sooner, because coming into this season we did a whole evaluation of who's got the strongest teammate pairings, and I think we all agreed that Ferrari had the strongest coming into 2022. Surely Ferrari knew that, and we said from the start, I think Ferrari's biggest problem, obviously we didn't foresee how unreliable the cars were going to be and that them catching fire halfway through a Grand Prix, but that their biggest problem was that both of them are super competitive and they're going to keep taking points off of each other. And if Max Verstappen is on a charge and Perez wasn't performing, which we have seen him do so far this year, he's actually had quite a decent year, which is good to see. But it would just be like Max is just going to run away with the championship because the Ferrari boys are squabbling over who gets what position and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I always imagine Ferrari, or think back to Ferrari being quite a cutthroat team. Look back at Schumacher and Barrichello days. It was very much like, Rubens, sling your, get out the way, Schumi's coming through. And I don't know what, if the philosophy in the team has changed or whatever it is, but I just don't understand why they haven't just taken a step back from everything and said, if we want to win this championship, I think Charles Leclerc is the better of the two options. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. Love Carlos, think he's a brilliant driver, but Charles Leclerc's the one in that team that is probably the most likely to take the championship title to Max. We saw it in the first 4 races or 3 races of the season, where they're both the ones fighting in the front and Carlos Sainz is in a gravel trap somewhere. So, I think they just need to chop, get on with it and make this decision. Otherwise, Max is probably just going to run off with it. And it'll be another year of people going, Mamma mia, Ferrari have messed up again.
You actually mentioned very quickly about the Schumacher-Barrichello relationship. And I just had a thought that perhaps it was the fact that Michael Schumacher, who is obviously, my GOAT, commanded that from Ferrari.
It was written in the second driver's contracts as well.
Exactly. So I feel like Michael Schumacher had probably a much stronger personality in the sense of saying, I want this, this, and this, and I will get you a championship. I don't think Charles Leclerc's in that particular moment in his career. He hasn't won a world championship. Yeah, he is too nice, because there's no way in hell, if you went back 15 years or whatever, Ross Brawn's waving his finger at Michael Schumacher after he gets out the car. There is that kind of hierarchy there where Leclerc's still in that kind of phase of, oh, I'm so lucky to drive for Ferrari. Obviously, there are frustrations that are seeping through. But as soon as Leclerc starts winning world titles, Ferrari don't really have a leg to stand on.
We need our Charles Leclerc villain era. Bring it on. We really do.
Mick Schumacher. Just follow his footsteps.
Oh, talking of Charles Leclerc, sorry, Tommy. Also, have you seen the stuff that he likes on Twitter, Charles Leclerc?
Oh God,
he liked something the other day of it was like Leclerc as a croc, like a shoe, and he just likes the most random stuff, and it just really cracks me up. And I had to mention it on the podcast because otherwise I forget. He liked something the other day.
Searching for
his likes
on Twitter right now.
It was like he liked something, and it was a picture of Pierre Gasly as a woman, and it was like, oh my God, Yuki's girlfriend is so cute.
Oh my!
He likes the most random stuff. It's so funny.
I've just seen the pedal of Charles Leclerc, and it's a man's head through one of those garden chairs. What?
Yeah, I have heard this before. That I need to go through his
Charles Leclerc.
It's so good.
I love how we're like, yeah, he needs to command himself, Katie.
Villain era.
He likes
villain era. Him also. He likes liking random pictures. Yeah, they have to prioritize Leclerc now. Maybe this isn't a popular opinion, but dare I say, Sainz, the 25-point swing in Leclerc's favor could be a blessing in disguise for Ferrari. That it's like, for me, Sainz fans won't want to hear this, but he's out of it now. He's 75 points behind Verstappen. I know he's not a huge amount behind Charles, but 75 points behind Verstappen is taking a monumental effort to win the title with half the season left. So they have to prioritize Leclerc, and they have to get every single point. I think the sprint, for example, showed, and especially you saw their race pace at the end, Leclerc could have won that sprint if they hadn't have been fighting. He definitely would have been on max at the end. But they wasted too much time fighting. It probably took a bit out of Leclerc's tyres as well. And this season, Ferrari do need to just make sure they get the maximum with Charles Leclerc every race now. If they want to overhaul, what is it, 38 points, is it now? So yeah, it's a big gap, but certainly not an impossible gap to get rid of, especially with all the reliability, which concerns me the most, because I don't remember a season where so many of the big guns, the top two teams, I mean, I'm sure we'll go into this later, but Mercedes, there shouldn't be anywhere near them in the title, but they always seem to pick up the best possible result. And it always seems that at least one of the top two teams end up blowing up or having some kind of issue.
I think it is a little bit ominous from a looking to the future of Formula One side, where Mercedes are just creeping forward in terms of pace. They're understanding their car every single race weekend, and we haven't seen. Have we seen any reliability issues for Mercedes? I mean, Hamilton's finished every single race.
Yeah, no.
And they've been picking up points left, right, and centre. Of course, Russell was having the massive point top five streak, wasn't he, the whole year until he had that crash. So we've not seen one reliability issue for Mercedes in the race, which is very ominous when you've got the likes of Red Bull and Ferrari, who are very quick at the moment, but having these problems, which cost them a lot of points through some weekends.
This sums it up that Mercedes, if you think that Red Bull and Ferrari are without doubt clear of Mercedes, I don't think there's really been one race, maybe you could argue Silverstone, where the Mercedes is anywhere near them. So in a normal race, all Mercedes can hope for is 5th and 6th. And out of 11 races, they've got 7 podiums. That's crazy.
It's unbelievable, isn't
it? That is mad.
George Russell is still only 5 points behind Carlos Sainz after, 11 races now?
Yeah, that's mad. That is actually mad.
That's crazy.
And that every race, you just run a race simulation normally without any retirements. They're 30 seconds behind the Ferraris and Red Bulls at the flag every single race, and they've got 7 podiums.
Mercedes are only 66 points behind Ferrari in the constructors, which when you think you can get a maximum of 44, whatever it is, that's That's insane. Like Mercedes are so far clear of McLaren in fourth, it's an outrage. If Mercedes, for whatever reason, become unbelievable in the second half of the season,
that's what scares me.
They could win the constructors. Like you don't know. Like it's especially with these measures coming in that are potentially going to hinder both Red Bull and Ferrari. Look, I'm just saying. They're not out of it until they're mathematically out of it. They're picking up far too many points. And, look, I think they are also sitting quite quietly and happily thinking, well, look, if this is a horrendous season for us and we are picking up this many points, then they'll take it. But yeah, we've still got plenty of races to go. You can use ExpressVPN to unlock movies and shows that are only available in other countries. I myself have watched many motorsport films that aren't available in my country. ExpressVPN lets you change your online location so you can control where you want sites to think you're located. Open the app, select a location, tap one button to connect, and refresh the page to access thousands of new shows and movies. You can choose from almost 100 different countries. Watch Doctor Who on UK Netflix or watch anime on Japanese Netflix. And this can work with any streaming service, not just Netflix. You've got Hulu, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, and so on. So why should you choose ExpressVPN over other VPNs? Well, you can stream in HD, no problem. No buffering or lag. It's compatible with all your devices, phones, laptops, media consoles, smart TVs, anything you can think of pretty much. Not only does it let you change your location, it also encrypts your data and lets you surf the web safely and anonymously. All you have to do is go to expressvpn.com/WTF1 to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. expressvpn.com/WTF1. Right, moving on. Katie, 3-word race review, please.
Mine is track limits joke. And that is in relation,
Have you got
funnily
one?
enoh, to the track limits.
Not
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you
Use
had a
that
joke.
track
Oh,
limit.
sorry.
No, yeah. Oh, I see. If I had a joke about track limits, oh, I really need that caffeine. But
Whoosh.
yeah, it really did go right over. So yeah, during the race, just the race, there were 43 cases of track limits, which is just an insane number. Mainly around turn 9 and turn 10. There are a few turn 1s in there. But 4 drivers ended up getting penalties for it during the race. That was Pierre Gasly, Guan Yu Zhou, Lando Norris, and Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel found out, he got his really towards the end of the Grand Prix and found out in the media pen that he'd been given a 5-second penalty, but it didn't matter because he was last anyway. So, but yeah, lots of drivers having a lot to say about track limits and how it was just ridiculous that they were being penalised because they weren't gaining an advantage from where they were going off on the track. Marcus Ericsson and Roman Grosjean were having a conversation on the Friday, I think, during qualifying about how track limits is an absolute joke, and Austria especially is like a real sucker for having all this track limits controversy. But yeah, I just think it was a bit ridiculous, really.
It's weird to think, isn't it, that track limits now is a problem for the other side of what we've all been asking for since we've had these questionable decisions and whatnot. We now have a hard and fast rule of the white line is the track, and if you go past it with more than 2 wheels, you are off the track.
Are you saying bring back Michael Massey?
Absolutely not.
Or Hamilton fans just shivered then.
We went. It was a motor race. It really was. But I think Austria as a whole is something that we've seen problems with anyway. Like last year, we had a huge amount of penalties and warnings handed out. So it's not like this year is the only example we've seen of this. And we've actually got a video coming out, which you may well see, all about track limits, if you want to find out a bit more about that, and why we saw so many. But no, I'm a fan of it, to be honest with you. I think it just needs to be policed in one particular way and be consistent. The problem is that consistent word that I just said. Perez was interviewed after he got his Q2 lap time deleted, which put him down to 13th. And he said basically that some people are caught and some people aren't. So there was a lot of conversation about Verstappen's pole lap and how he was very marginal to extending after turn 9. And Perez saying that some people get caught, some people don't, just shows that you can't have a hard and fast rule of the white lines defined as the track if they can't police it for everybody at all times, which then goes back to, well, what is judging these track limit penalties? Is it people watching it going, yes, no, yes? Or have we got sensors? Like, if we don't, there must be sensors in the car.
I think there are
things.
sensors in the car.
But
I'm certain there are.
But how are some people getting caught and some people not? This is the pinnacle of motorsport.
Taking the batteries out.
Yeah, maybe they've thrown the sensor off, or maybe they've moved it slightly over. But
oh my God, imagine.
Oh my God, the controversy.
The drama.
FIA, go check now. But how is it not easily managed? Like, stick a drone up in the air, hire an intern, and they can just watch it. You know, I don't know. Obviously, that's probably not ideal. You don't want a drone. But then, to be fair, they've been loving drones in Spain. We haven't seen that come back since, to be fair. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Yeah, that was a bit weird. But why? This is literally the pinnacle of motorsport. It's worth billions of pounds. Why can we not just get an accurate measure? The fact Perez says some people get caught, some people don't, is a bad problem because some people are getting away with it.
That's the problem, isn't it? That the tracks have evolved too much to allow you, like, they've got all this runoff. Austria in particular, yes, it's got gravel and grass, but every curb they put, you know, a flat curb to the side and then another bit of sort of runoff area, if you like, even if it's only tiny, and then gravel. So you can still run wide and it doesn't affect your lap times. You mentioned Marcus Ericsson, Katie. He tweeted, "Build tracks you don't gain by going over the white lines." End of tweet. Which obviously in an ideal world is great, but if you look back, well, Paul Ricard is meant to have that.
It's got a track surface where you go over it, and it like basically ruins your tires.
But the problem is,
Pritt stick and just go round the track. You know.
Yeah, but the problem is, it's too like. You can run wide on a curb and be so like a millimeter off, and it is really difficult.
They need, like, you know, operation when you touch it and it goes. That's what they need.
It gets like
a big tannoy every time.
Yeah, the race director gets an electric shock every time someone goes off. And then
can we bring back Michael Massey then?
Michael Massey. To be fair, these suggestions sound like Bernie Ecclestone right now. They really do. Let's get the sprinklers out as well.
However much we obviously roast it, it is really difficult because it's not like football where there's one football and, you know, if you go out of the pitch, everyone can see it. You know, 20 cars going around a track in a qualifying session, all these different corners, all these different scenarios. It's so difficult. The perfect solution is just to, if you look at like old street tracks, street circuits, which we don't want, not for all of them. Or, you know, the gravel.
Fanboy speaks out.
Yeah, gravel goes right to the edge of the track because then you're not gaining. But the problem is they won't do that. So it's difficult.
And also,
it's not safe. So
you have the conversation as well of how punishing do you want the tracks to be? Like,
well, remember Red Bull Ring had those curbs that obliterated it. I mean, oh my God, sausage curbs, by the way. That you've not timed that video any better for another incident where in the WC, if you've not seen it, someone runs wide at Monza. All they should be doing is just sliding off the track and they hit a sausage curb. It blows the door off completely and then they flip into the air. It's terrifying.
Yeah, the door just explodes.
The door explodes.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. I was like, what? What's happened? But yeah, the sausage, he went in far too fast.
Yeah.
Let's be real. But like, you shouldn't be punished as if you've just hit a wall or something. It's very dangerous. Get rid of sausage curbs. Hashtag. What should we call it?
No sausages.
No sausages.
Hashtag no sausages. Yeah, we like sausage dogs. They can go to Formula One races, but not the sausage curbs. Question from Team WTF1 member Max S. With the amount of track limit penalties being handed out across F1, F2 and F3, does this suggest more of an issue with the track or driver visibility? I love how it's or. I'd say and.
Or.
Yeah, there's been obviously a lot of speaking. There's been a lot of speaking, a lot of talk around driver visibility. Ricardo's come out and said a little bit about how difficult it is to kind of place your car with all the extra bits and the wheel winglets and things like that. Like the driver visibility is getting worse. And of course, you still have the halo and things, all things that are slightly obscuring and obstructing visibility. The track as well, as we've mentioned, is kind of does breed penalties and does breed drivers going off and trying to take advantage, especially around turns 9 and 10. But I don't think we'll see it all year. We haven't really seen a huge amount on the run up to Austria. So I wouldn't say that driver visibility is the key thing here. It seems to be the track. Austria just seems to love a track extend, and drivers never seem to like realize or change anything about it.
Yeah, it is this track. But luckily it's Paul Ricard next, which has, miles and miles of runoff. But then apparently they're meant to slow the cars down. But again, it's not right to the edge of the track. So you're still going to have that problem where people go onto the curb and have 0.1 of a millimeter of their tyre still on the...
That's a lot of game.
On the track. And it's just...
At least 10 seconds a lap.
That's the thing. It is, we as fans want it to just be like black and white, clear as day. If you go off, you go off. But then it does get to that ridiculous situation where 0.1 of a millimeter on and 0.1 of a millimeter off is like you're not gaining loads of time, but then it's like, I guess they're the rules. But
we've asked for this, Tommy. We've we now need to lay in our bed.
F2 is really bad as well. I mean, they just right at the end of the race, they're just like 5 seconds, just that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's throwing all the money. Yeah, it was bad, but this track is definitely worse for it, no doubt.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like you say, it's been more of a thing in Austria, but then we've also talked about track limits. Like even last year in Bahrain, when was it Verstappen got a penalty for going over track limits, and then there was literally onboards of like every other car in the midfield doing it, and it wasn't picked up at all. So I guess at least the FIA are keeping an eye on the midfield, because it was quite a lot of midfield cars that were getting penalised for it. But the drivers didn't seem to be having much of a clue what was going on either. Like Hamilton's on the radio, they're saying, "Oh, you're really close to getting told off here for track limits," and he's like, "What? I haven't done anything." So either he's like playing innocent, or like genuinely the drivers don't even realize what they're doing is wrong. But I don't know which side to take there, so I'm going to sit on the fence.
Well, I think it's very hard for Hamilton to see, though, isn't it? Like when you saw how much he was extending by that amount.
Think how difficult it is to get into a like bay parking and you can't see what's going on. Like let alone in an F1 car.
Well, imagine if you think that there was that screenshot going around, wasn't there, after qualifying of Max, and it looked like his tyre was maybe the tiniest bit off, and some people were saying, yes, it is, yes, it isn't, and that was really hard to judge. Imagine being in the cockpit. You can't tell. You have no idea. And that just shows that they're not doing it deliberately. They just are doing it. And until there's, like you say, gravel there that they can't do it, or something like that, or a ridiculous I don't know, it's just because the curbs are flat. Like it's the nature. Spikes. It is the nature. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the nature of the circuit that they're flying into these corners, and sometimes you go in too hot and you get a little bit of a swapper on, and you'll actually lose time because you'll make a little correction, run wide, and then that's your time deleted or your first warning. To me, I'd love to watch a full, well, it'd be quite boring, but full onboard of every, like the main drivers, because Max, Charles, and I think Lewis as well all got the warnings quite early on.
Leclerc especially.
Yeah, and it was very early on, and then conveniently never again. And they're like, really? Are you telling me not one lap of those like remaining 50 laps did they go slightly wide? Or whether they're just like, yeah, this is ridiculous. Give some midfield cars because they don't care. We don't care about them. But we don't want to.
Seb, he's already lost.
Yeah, we don't want to affect the championship,
mate. You just know
Charles did it
Max
twice
Verstappen
and then
fan.
never again.
You just know a Max Verstappen fan on Twitter will have watched that Leclerc on board and seen something where he went 1 millimeter wide and lap 42.
Yeah, that's what it was like last year, wasn't it? Where every Stan page analyzes their rival drive, whether that's Hamilton and Verstappen, or Leclerc and Verstappen, or Verstappen and Hamilton, or whatever. Everyone's rival is Verstappen, apparently. So it's a tough one. This is one of those issues where we'll probably not mention it again until we're next at the Red Bull Ring, and it'll come up again.
It certainly will. Team WTF1 member Wexy. Should Red Bull Ring do some changes to the track so track limits would not be so much of an issue, or should the rules be relaxed? Oh, God, we've literally come full circle now. Where people are like, no, let's relax the track limit rules. It's a bit too much now. It's either one or the other, unfortunately. We either don't care about track limits and people can run as wide as they want, and then it's a level playing field for everybody, or we have to stick with the white lines. And unfortunately, I think the white lines is better than it being a bit of a farce.
Have you ever watched an IndyCar race at COTA? Have you seen that?
No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they don't do track limits. So you know that final double left.
Oh yeah, no, they go really wide.
They go really wide, and
they
just allow everyone to do it, and it's like they're making up their own circuit. And for me, that does look farcical because you're like, you're just watching it like that's not the track though.
Yeah.
So
I think we have to.
Lesser of two evils, I think.
Stick on the old track. But yeah, I don't know what Red Bull could really do apart from what we've suggested, where somehow everything past the white line is slower. But it's going to take a lot of money for something that, is it really that much of an issue if people get penalties for not following the rules? I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of warnings being flown around.
A lot of people that did follow the rules, so
yeah,
it can be done.
Exactly. As long as the rules are followed and analysed by someone within the FIA and it's consistent, then it's fine. But
like George Russell didn't get a single one. I'm just trying to pick out drivers.
Of course,
that didn't
George
get told
didn't.
off at all.
Of course, George didn't. I mean, look, what a man.
He's like the prefect. He's literally like head boy vibes.
Yeah,
isn't he?
100%.
I'd never do that. George doesn't sound like that. But,
That's very posh, George Russell. Moving on now to someone who scored some beautiful points. Tommy, what's your three-word race review?
My three-word race review.
I don't know what that was.
Just do a
It's a vibe. I was just dancing on the thing.
My three-word race review is welcome, Mick Schumacher. And this is, I've obviously been very, very critical, maybe more than most, of Mick Schumacher. But to be fair...
How many times have you called him washed so far this season?
Exactly. A lot. My washed counter is high with Mick. But he was very, very bad at the start of the season, and it had to be said. His drive was under threat and his career was under threat. But that's now, if he'd finished that race in Canada, he's probably picking up points. So you could say that's 3 races in a row where he's probably picking up points, and definitely picked up points in the last 2. And yeah, an amazing result in P6. I think he got maybe a little, it was behind Magnussen, but I think he had an engine issue or something. But Mick Schumacher's picking up points now. And what I love to see, I know this has been mentioned 100 times, but that interview with Sky in the press pen after the sprint race, when he felt that Magnussen hadn't given the DRS, Michael Schumacher just possessed him. Like, he just became Michael Schumacher. Like, his spirit was like in him, and it was like, oh my God, I've never seen this side. He looks, because I know people say he looks like Michael, but when he is annoyed, oh my word, he looks like Michael Schumacher a lot. And, don't get me wrong, I love seeing the wholesome Mick and, playing with Roscoe and all this kind of cutesy stuff. But my God, that was cool to see him really like, this means a lot to me and I want to win and for me, like, I've wanted to see that is it fire in your belly? Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a phrase. That is
a phrase.
That is actually a phrase.
Don't ask Casey.
But that is a phrase, and that's what I've wanted to see from him, and that to see that, I was like, yes, Mick, this is what we want to see. And then put on an amazing drive, making some brilliant moves, defending well, attacking well, and amazing to get a P6 when I thought Haas would actually be going backwards at this stage. Yeah,
be very, very washed. No, it's great to see Mick performing to the level that he is right now. It was very concerning for a lot of this season, seeing how he was performing compared to Magnussen. I'm not sure what's really changed for him. But yeah, that interview was quite telling. And I think being nice doesn't really get you many places in Formula One, especially if your teammate's not doing things that you expect of him and stuff like that. You have to stand up for yourself and you have to stand up to the team sometimes. But Mick, P6, he's growing in confidence. And it has to be the biggest turnaround of the season by an absolute country mile. Like, I don't know how he's now finishing so heavily in the points after what we've seen of him for a lot of the season. But yeah, Tommy's, going, oh, he's out. He's going to be out of Formula One. He's finished. He's, etc. Now I'm like, well, God, if him and Leclerc go in the same team, what am I going to do?
Literally, yeah.
What a turnaround.
Wow.
Yeah, genuinely. But obviously, he still has a lot to do. He still has to continue this run of form because he did have a pretty bad first third of the season. But if he can continue this momentum, Mick is all of a sudden asking for a better drive. Well, I say better drive. Haas is actually a decent car at the moment, which doesn't make much sense considering they are the team that have probably done the least upgrades of anybody on the grid. But it shows that this year, upgrades don't necessarily mean pace.
This is true. I mean, talking about his Sky interview on the Saturday and how much he was channeling Michael, honestly, watching that clip is quite scary because he's just so similar. Did you see his interview with F1 after the race where he got told he got driver of the day? It made me feel quite emotional actually, because he just was so he was like the emoji, where it's got that pleading eyes, and it was just a really cute little emoji face that he pulled. Do you know the one I mean?
I know the one with
the wholesome eyes kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, we've criticized him a lot on the podcast, and to be fair, I'm not going to backtrack it because I think the criticism was valid at the time. But, we've said, oh, he's too aggressive, Mick, why are you racing like that when you're not even in the points, blah, blah, blah. But to be fair to him, he's stuck to his racing style, which is quite aggressive and elbows out, argy-bargy kind of vibe. And it's actually paid off for this weekend and in Silverstone as well. You kind of touched upon it there. I don't know if we'll mention it later, but Kevin said that he was also having engine issues and was worried that his engine was going to blow up, which, I mean, if you're Ferrari, you're probably thinking, uh-oh, not another one. But yeah, he's done such a brilliant job, and it's just a really nice story to see him doing well, because I don't think there are many people out there that don't want to see the Schumacher name back in F1 and actually getting points and not kind of being given slander. It's just a nice story.
We don't want Schumi slander. That's not something that I enjoy personally, and I don't think many people did. They probably muted Tommy as soon as Mick was mentioned. But yeah, I also want to just very quickly mention how good his defense on Hamilton was in the sprint, and I thought that was absolutely sensational from Mick. And we have seen little bits of that before. I remember when he had his Haas at Hungary, very much just out the blue, was kind of in the midfield, and he fought very hard for every position. So Mick definitely has that edge to him as well when it comes to defending. He knows where to place his car, and it was very promising to see that he's able to keep Hamilton behind for so long. Obviously, that Mercedes is very draggy, and it was not the easiest car to use as an overtake bit of machinery. But Mick was doing a very good job, and of course, when he lost DRS, he lost the position. But overall, great performance from Mick. And the question from Team WTF1 member B. Suspiels. I'm sorry about that. That's not gone well. Has Mick fully turned it around, or can there be setbacks for him and Haas? Very open question, that. I think we just have to go off the recent run of form. You're only as good as your last race, all that good stuff. I think Mick has turned it around for now. It's not like he lucked into that P6. He had a good qualifying, was on a par with K-Mag, and produced in both the sprint race and the main race. So I don't think we can say that, it's an Ocon Hungary win or anything where, a lot of things have gone in his favour. Haas, for whatever reason, at some tracks, just rock up and they're like, hey, yeah, we are the top midfield car. Another time, they may well be out in Q1 in France. You just don't know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, fully turned it around. I don't know if I'd say fully, partially turned it around, I think. I mean, fully turned around would be if we're talking about this in another 5 races time and he's getting those points, banging them in, I think then maybe fully turned it around, because the first half, or first part, third, I think you called it earlier, of the season was pretty chaotic and disastrous. I mean, he split the car in half twice from his mistakes. So I think, although getting a few points is going to be great, I think Haas are now 7th in the Constructors' Championship. So, his points, bringing them in, is going to be helping with Haas. And we all know that they have struggled financially over the last few years. So any kind of championship points is going to be it's going to be a happy Gunter at the end of it. But yeah, I think he maybe, to say fully turned around, needs to do a bit more consistent point scoring. But don't take away from the fact that he did a wonderful job this weekend, and he should be very, very proud.
Yeah, he needs to, I think by the end of the season, we're hoping that he beats Magnussen maybe on a more regular basis. Magnussen was ahead of him during the race, and it sounds like he had a bit of an issue, but it's not like yes, he has turned the season around, but it's very hard to just completely flip your entire season and become from being the most washed driver to being the greatest ever. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, exactly. It's just not going to happen. But he's done what he needs to do, and just picking up those points when the Haas is good. And hopefully by the end of the season, I think to kind of, if he wants to be showing maybe a better team, I mean, the only better team I can really see him going to is Ferrari, and that is the joint best team at the moment. So I think that's a bit ambitious still, but he'll need to sort of show he can beat Kevin Magnussen on a regular basis. So I think that's his next step towards the end of the season, that he starts sort of beating Magnussen.
Yeah, 100%. If he does, I think I said in Internet Special Reactions, like, K-Mag isn't the GOAT. Like, this isn't like if Mick beats K-Mag, he is the greatest driver ever. He needs to be consistently beating K-Mag. And then you start to think, right, well, what next for Mick? But yeah.
Maybe Alpha, if he was to do anything. I don't think he'd do like a Leclerc and go from like a bottom team with Sauber to straight to Ferrari. I think that's a bit ambitious. And but also they've both got Carlos and Leclerc there for ages now.
But is Alpha really that much of an upgrade? And also,
true.
They've shown the fact that they got rid of Gio kind of showed that they're not that much of a Ferrari B team like people think they are anymore. So
I think if Haas are on the up and they genuinely can fight for points, then I think for Mick and how this whole sort of not messaging, but like how he always takes like a year or two to warm up. I think for him, it'd be better if he just stays in the same team, continues to grow his confidence. And then if he genuinely has proved himself, then he's allowed to step up. But it's kind of like a sideways step, if anything, moving to somewhere like Alpha, unless they wanted to test him against Bottas, for example, and find out, okay, well, how fast is he actually in qualifying? How fast is he in the race? Bottas is a great benchmark to go up against. So, yeah, I think maybe that could be one reason he'd go sideways. But no, it's certainly not a massive performance step up, I'd say, for to go to Alpha. Moving on from Mick Schumacher now. Well done, Mick. Congrats. Your first podcast where we've actually been nice about you collectively. Let's move on to an incident that happened with Carlos Sainz, who, of course, DNF'd from the race just before he was about to pass Max Verstappen. I have a feeling Tommy may have ripped the Ferrari onesie immediately off of Grace, and that's what happened. It was then throttle issues for Leclerc and Sainz having an engine blowout, but thankfully just about held on. The curse was strong for Leclerc, but he just about held on. But yeah, lost 873_. Why were the marshals so slow getting to Sainz? It was a bit chaotic, wasn't it? I haven't actually watched it back since we observed.
Oh, I don't know if I need to send you a clip, and I will talk about it after this. But yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, well, it looked very chaotic. One of the marshals ran away, which was
that was the clip I was going to send you. Someone's actually zoomed in on it. Oh my word, so bad.
Did he run away because he wasn't suitably dressed for dealing with a fire? Did he have his fire helmet on?
It's hard to know.
If you need to get the equipment, if it was a small fire at the back, then you could be forgiven for thinking, I could tackle that with the fire extinguisher, it's no problem. But when the whole car pretty much caught alight, you probably think, Christ, okay, I need to get my gloves, I need to get my helmet, I need to get my
it was weird priority levels,
whatever.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the way he sort of ran towards it, put a fire extinguisher down, and then walked off.
When the car's in flames.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. It obviously looks really poor in a video. We don't know the whole story. I'm sure there's no doubt they're going to have to investigate that, because 100%. Marshals at the end of the day, they can't, we can't go racing without them. They're amazing that they put their, They don't get paid to do it.
No.
It's the pure enjoyment of Formula One. And don't get me wrong, you know, it would be a cool thing to do, but I would probably be that same person that would crap my pants and go, oh my God, there's a car on fire. Nope. But at the end of the day, you can't do that because it's the marshals. You rely on the marshals to sort these things out. And it was a very unfortunate incident, the fact that he was parked. So there's no handbrake in a Formula One car. You roll up the hill, and then he was like rolling down. He needed to get out, but it's hard to get out because the car's rolling. He needed someone to stop, but then the car's on fire, and then it doesn't look great. There'll be an investigation, and I'm sure we'll learn the whole story because, like you say, it's hard to. You don't want to sort of go, oh my God, this person is ridiculous. Because like you say, it might be the fact that he's not the one trained for it or something like that, or not got the equipment to do it, and it's the other person's responsibility. But it did look a bit of a mess that you just had essentially like 4 marshals watching, and it was only one guy that ended up going over trying to help Sainz out the car and then put the fire out. So not great.
Yeah, it's I highly doubt the guy has crapped his pants, as you say, and run away. I think the problem was that he had the fire extinguisher in his hands, and there wasn't that instinct to go, yes, I should probably put the fire out. This is the immediate danger.
Are there not 2 types of fire extinguishers as well? He might have taken the wrong one. Like, I'm just trying to think of when I had like training at my old work.
Yeah, there's
a different one of like
different types.
A near electronics, and then there's a different one if it's like a different. I don't know. I could be wrong there, but I feel like that's what happened with Grosjean as well in 2020. Is that a marshal went over and didn't have the right fire extinguisher? I think I'm remembering that right. But he also had to get like slats to hold the car in place. So perhaps he'd run and then remembered I haven't got those because otherwise it's going to roll down the hill. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of working elements to it, but it doesn't take away the fact that it was bloody scary watching it, like watching him struggle to get out of a car that's on fire.
Yeah, it was very sketchy.
Not nice.
I think the thing was they looked unprepared for something that was going to happen in some regard. Like if a car stops there, they're going to roll down the hill. So like that process, if they've forgotten the stopper, isn't particularly forgivable when that's going to happen if a car stops there. I know that obviously they might think they'll go in the gravel or whatever. And obviously Carlos maybe hasn't thought at that particular time to park in the gravel because of, you know, the car being on fire. But yeah, it was obviously unfortunate that he went on that side because then he started rolling back. But there definitely, as Tommy says, needs to be an investigation as to what went wrong, why weren't they ready, what needs to be done in the future. Because at the end of the day, yeah, they are amazing and they volunteer, and it's, you know, without them, as you say, we can't go racing. But there still has to be the parameters in place that they can save the driver when necessary. And it was a very sketchy, to say the least. Next question. Kate_Whitehurst. So we move away from Carlos Sainz now to George Russell and the crash he had with Sergio Perez on the first lap. Was the Russell penalty unfair? Should it have been considered a first lap racing incident? If he didn't take the penalty, would he have beaten Hamilton? Was the Russell penalty unfair? Penalties are a weird thing because they're not supposed to take into account circumstance, but they 100% take into account circumstance. They just do. Like, it's not just a hard and fast, you push someone wide, you get a penalty. It's, oh, okay, well, Perez is in the gravel and he's now last and he's now DNF'd. We can't just say that was a racing incident. I have no doubt in my mind there is that level of, well, it's a bit unfair if he just drives off and keeps the position. So I think Russell did everything he possibly could to not crash with Perez on lap 1. You think it's a heavy car, the tyres aren't up to temperature. He has got to the apex of that. Yeah, the actual curbing has washed his car slightly wide, but I think Perez is kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other, in my opinion, where he kind of comes in a little bit too early, in my opinion. Like, we know that turn 4, it bottlenecks and 2 cars into one has not worked in the past. Perez has absolutely trusted that Russell hits the apex and maybe even literally rides inside the apex to not hit each other. I don't think Russell did a huge amount wrong, but at the same time, there's that feeling of, well, it's a bit unfair for Perez to lose everything, Russell to hit him. It's a very difficult scenario and a difficult thing to say this was the 100% the right thing. But when you compare it to Vettel and Gasly, like Gasly completely screwed that up and 100% deserved the penalty. They were two very different incidents. So for me, I thought it was slightly unfair considering it was lap one and all of the circumstances taken into account. It's hard to say.
It is. It's a difficult one because you want to ask for consistency, but at the same time, and like each incident is different. But I mean, unsurprisingly, George Russell said that he thought it was really harsh. He said, you were racing at the start and cars everywhere. Checo did a bold move going around the outside like that. He's done it before. I know he did it with Valtteri yesterday, and Valtteri had to get right on top of the curb to avoid him, which is exactly what I tried to do. But with Carlos ahead of me, it made things difficult. So, yeah, I mean, is it chance that Checo's ended up in the gravel at turn 4 2 years in a row? I don't know. I think he just is super ambitious, but obviously it's not worked very well for him because it's just ruined his entire race. I think Ted Kravitz said that it like ripped a hole in his side pod or something, which is one of the reasons why he retired. And then George got damage as well. But I mean, George Russell is one of the people that's like calling for consistency as Mr. Consistent. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one. For me, maybe it was fair because Perez literally ended up in the gravel and ended up having to retire from it. George did get damage as well, but
that's the thing though, right? Like the saying that doesn't then equate to what the ruling is, where it's like, well, Perez is in the gravel, it's unfair, because that's not supposed to be what the penalty system is. I think they obviously need to change the wording if that is the case. It's just such a like Formula One and penalties.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not going to sit on the fence like you two, and I'm going to just say definitively it was harsh. I agree with you, Matt.
British bias.
Yeah, a British bias.
I think I said it was slightly unfair. I also
yeah,
said
you did. Yeah.
I sit on the fence.
I agree that Gasly and Vettel one is slam dunk because Gasly's running him a lot wider, and you can see the actual point where they make contact. Whereas if you pause the point where they make contact, Sergio does still have room on the outside. And for me, it's very ambitious to go for that move when it's no coincidence that it happens a lot. I mean, I've seen a lot of people doing it, like clipping it together with the Albon incident with Hamilton, where it's identical. And it's the way that corner goes. Maybe drivers just forget that that's the nature of the corner. It's an unusual one for different things. I personally think that George either got a penalty because one, probably should have got a penalty in the last race for his turn 1 incident, lap 1 incident, because that was his fault in my opinion. And 2, because Alex Albon got a penalty, which I thought was extremely harsh. And then you'd get to the situation where you're like, well, why is Albon getting a penalty there and George isn't?
Yeah, Lando got a penalty last year and everyone said it was harsh. So
I don't think, I personally think that Checo's just got a bit too ambitious because, my God, he was brilliant in that sprint and he was making some unbelievable overtakes, but maybe he just got a bit too cocky at the start and just needs to just maybe wait. It's a long race ahead of him. We've seen so many cars try and go around the outside of there and it doesn't work. Sainz is a great example. In the sprint, it happened with Leclerc and he backed out because he knew if he's staying by the side of his teammate there, he's going into the gravel. It happens all the time. So for me, it is one of those just first lap incidents where it's the nature of the circuit. George isn't trying to run him off and Checo he's not done anything hugely wrong, but also he probably should just tone it down a little bit and wait because he's easily passing him in like DRS in 2 laps time.
Yeah, 100%. He's obviously seen that and gone, well, I can be up to P4 here and I can be in the fight for the win or whatever, a podium. So I can understand his eagerness to do it. And funny enough, when I'm looking at the replay now, obviously you have those two going side by side. The 2 McLaren drivers did exactly the same thing a little bit further back. And you can notice that whoever's on the inside, I can't quite tell, it's quite zoomed out, is really up on the curb. Like they must have obviously gone, 1, that's my teammate. And 2, this is how you go around the corner. So there are a couple of drivers behind that have gone side by side in the midfield that obviously didn't end that way.
It is such a different corner, that turn 4 though, because it goes downhill.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, naturally it like washes you wide. Like it's a lot. It's not like a natural hairpin where you can hug the inside the whole time. It like dips down. There's a big sort of drop, and it's always going to like push you wide a little bit. And for me, I think he did give a fair bit of space. So
yeah, it was very very fine line, but I'm glad Tommy was at least definitive with his answer. Right.
Sorry.
No, don't apologise. It was me
bias.
as well. Next question. Oh no, we actually didn't say if he didn't take the penalty, would he have beaten Hamilton?
It depends, because then you go, if he wouldn't have had the incident, he would have got damage, and then maybe he would have, because Hamilton would have taken longer to get through. Yeah, Hamilton.
It's too many variables, I think.
We finished 17 seconds behind Hamilton, did George, and track position was reasonably crucial between when there's two cars of similar pace. So potentially, he had track position over Lewis, but that's a question we can't really answer.
I'm looking forward to seeing Hamilton now. He's not running these silly experimental flaws or whatever. Just to see them two in a straight fight with each other will be nice to see.
Yeah, as long as we don't keep hearing, oh, George is now running an experimental flaw. Yeah, no, Lewis is. Whoever's losing. They used an experimental flaw. Next question from Spy Williams. Is it time for flares to go? Can't imagine how horrid it must be to be stuck in a grandstand, having potentially paid a lot of money for, covered in smoke and unable to see the race. Used to think the atmosphere added made it a possibly worth it, but feels a line has been crossed. 100% flares need to be put in the bin. If I was sat in that grandstand on lap 1 and it was like a smoke grenade had gone off, I would be absolutely fuming. I'd be sat in the grandstand going, just trying to make a window so I could see the cars. I understand like throwing a flare at the end of the race or whatever. I don't have a problem with really. Like Zandvoort was, on the line of, okay, this is a lot of smoke, but at least it was the end of the race. Having it at the start of the race where we saw the cars going through what was a literal smoke screen is asking for a problem, in my opinion. It's dangerous if that smoke becomes even heavier and there's a crash in that area of the track and a car can't see the car in front of them. Then, when are the FIA, when is Formula One going to step in and say this can't happen? And it just goes to show the security at tracks is not anywhere near what it should be, because there's no way flares are allowed to be in grandstands or coming into a Formula One venue. You can't even take a bottle of water into a Formula One venue, let alone a flare. I, as I say, don't really care so much if it goes off at the end of the race. It's quite cool. Oh, flare, whatever. But when they're actually racing is borderline bonkers.
That's the worst I've seen it easily. That lap 1, when they were coming round that past the Verstappen grandstand, or whatever you want to call it, it was literally like in the 90s when you had a massive engine blowout and it covered the whole track in smoke, and they'd wave yellow flags because you couldn't see. I've not seen too many onboards. I don't even know if people have asked the drivers about it or anything like that. But I found something from last year where F1 drivers call for fans to minimize flare usage. But this was, and that was that was after the Dutch Grand Prix, but this was far worse, which makes me wonder what on earth is Zandvoort going to be like this year if that was Austria. It was really bad, really, really bad. Yeah. And visibility is such an important thing in Formula One. We've said it, they don't see a lot anyway. And it's a bit ridiculous and doesn't, you can there's better ways to make it a great atmosphere than
smoke,
plumes of smoke on the track.
Yeah, and imagine like you're behind somebody that's set that off. Not only can you not see, but you're going to be breathing in all of that. Like it's not a vibe. I don't want to sound like a party pooper, but like you say, there are other ways that you can celebrate, like just being normal and just cheering, woo, rather than setting off a blimmin' smoke grenade. But yeah, you talk about the fact that it could be that people get confused with flare smoke with an actual accident. Like we literally saw it here last year in the final lap of the race when Vettel and Raikkonen came together. And I think that the dust, and I spoke about this on the podcast because I forgot the word dust and Matt helped me out. But the dust that was kicked up from that could quite easily have been mistaken for a flare. And I mean, the light panels that they've got at the side of the track and stuff, fortunately, they are brilliant. They're so bright that if it's chucking it down with rain and it's really misty and stuff like that, they can still see through the light panels. But yeah, it also could affect the safety side of things. If people can't see flags being waved, people can't see marshals that are on the track further down the line. Like, there are lots of elements to it that might sound a bit extreme, but you've got to think of like the worst case scenario sometimes. So yeah, I don't understand why F1 haven't flat out banned them. But will they ever do it? Probably not.
But that's the thing, like, banning them in what regard? Because I'm pretty sure they're not allowed in tracks. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
It is. I think it is just the level of security.
It's having better security.
Yeah,
then.
exactly. And
like people were saying with the Silverstone incident last week, with the protesters that got on the track, like, did they not have T-shirts in their bag that were like the oil things and stuff? Like,
they had flags and everything. We saw them, Tommy, didn't we?
Like, how did we?
Yeah, we saw
them.
We
walked and watched the cars going into sort of Luffield area, and yeah, they were all there taking pictures, and they were very clearly.
They need to get like Glastonbury, like festival level of security, where they're like literally check everything, like your mouthwash, to make sure that you're not sneaking alcohol in. They need to get those teams to a Grand Prix to make sure people aren't taking in bad things.
I suppose with the protesters, it's hard to refuse entry to someone that has a T-shirt saying they support something, right? So it's like that one's maybe a little bit more difficult.
I promise I'm not going to run on the track.
If they've been given the head up, they've been given the heads up though that these kind of people are going to be attending the event. They must have told the security teams. If the security team sees somebody with this on it, they go, "Sorry, I've been given strict instruction that you can't come in."
Yeah, I guess that's a dangerous.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing though, because if I say like, I want to wear a T-shirt that says like, like
I don't believe in X.
I don't believe in blah blah blah, and they're like, no, you can't come in. And then I'm like, okay, I won't bring the T-shirt in, and they're like, no, you flat out can't come in. I'm like, what? Like, that's ridiculous. So
Frank's walking through the room as well. Feels like he wants to say something. So hopefully we'll see Frank at the end of the podcast. But yeah, 100% with flares, like, just check the bags and check their legs and wherever else they're trying to hide them. Next up, to be fair as well, like, we don't, at least at Silverstone, I don't know if it's different for other tracks, you don't have like metal detectors or anything that you go through at tracks. So I feel like there definitely needs to be a ramp up with this sort of thing, especially with what we heard with some people being abused and harassed. And that's the next question actually, is Ashwick_Raj. What can be done to stop what happened with some people in the grandstands? Just a singular post by teams condemning the actions doesn't seem enough. And it's really sad to hear that this is now becoming a thing at Formula One races. Like, how Formula One has grown in popularity has now changed the audience that is now being brought in as well. And what can they do? It's such a difficult thing to police, but having stricter security, we've said as well for flares, but having that around the grandstands and having outlets that people can go to and go, well, no, these people are doing this, and not having to just deal with it on your own is, I think, at least one step for it. And the drivers condemning what these people are doing is obviously another thing to maybe get it through their thick skulls that it's not correct to do these things to people. But
have they not just grown up in society and know that this is abhorrent and they shouldn't do it? Why should it have to take a driver to say don't do it for them to go, oh yeah, I'm not going to be an asshole?
Well, like, some people have that.
It's a culture thing, isn't it? And
it's
there's
ridiculous.
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, because you saw someone burning a Lewis Hamilton cap, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
It's mad, isn't it? Like you say, it's got to the point where it's just really disappointing. I mean, we heard a little bit of it at Silverstone, where some people were saying, "Oh, people are giving me grief for being a fan of a certain particular driver or whatever, and calling abusing me or whatever, and saying horrible things." And this is just like next level. It doesn't. We don't want Formula One to become like a football match where we're going to have to like separate fans based on what you're wearing or things like that. And if Formula One want to grow in popularity with the Drive to Survive audience and the new audiences and stuff, they need to make sure that people feel safe at a Formula One race, and not just 50-year-old white guys feel safe at a Formula One race. It needs to be that anyone can go to a Formula One race, enjoy it, feel welcomed, and clearly that's not the case at the moment. And the problem is, they need to be a lot stricter with it. People need to call it out and support people that are having it happen to them. But even if it does happen, say it happened to me, like someone beats me up or something, I wouldn't know where to go to, or even if it's like feels like a nothing incident, someone like shoves me down and I cut myself, whatever. I wouldn't know what to do. Like, who do I tell at Silverstone that said that's happened to me? And these people are obviously like going through a lot worse than that, feeling horrendous. And it's time, they're going to have to start banning people and arresting people. It's the only way they can get around it, which is horrible. And then comes the question, like football, are they going to have to start banning alcohol at things, which would be a shame, because some people, just because a select few people are ruining it for everyone. It's just really, really disappointing to hear, isn't it?
It certainly is. But yeah, actions need to be taken. A post, as Ashwick says, a post by teams condemning stuff doesn't do anything. That won't do anything. There has to be literal action of, as Tommy says, places where people can
F1 have got to put some of that profit that they're making into better security and making people feel more welcome, I think.
Yeah, and F1 can't put that down to the circuits, because that's another thing that always happens, is where it's the circuits, the circuit is the one that has to sort it out. Or sometimes the circuits can't afford to do it or whatever. There has to be a collective action here, because, I think one step forward is definitely having outlets for people to speak to, and rather than having to take to social media for it to happen, like that doesn't actually
surely
help them
this
in
is
that moment.
A prime example of what that We Racers One thing. Now they've said that it's now actions, not words and sticking logos on cars. Surely this is the perfect thing for them to tackle that.
Because it needs to be squashed now, otherwise it's just going to breed and it's going to get worse. And we don't want that at all. It's very sad to see. Okay, moving on. Try and get a lighter moment now, as Tommy should be, well, firstly showing Frank. For audio listeners, I think you may have just heard a little groan from Frank, actually. But Tommy, have we got another ABCDEF1 jingle?
We don't have a new one. You guys
what?
need to send
more. Are you telling
more.
me there wasn't any more sent?
No, I couldn't
Not
find
even
any.
Rubbish ones?
No. Podcast at WTF1.com. Come on, guys.
Come on, we need
play
more
an old
jingles.
One. What do you want? Drum and bass?
What was the
Texas
radio one? Texas one.
You want the Texas one?
I love the Texas one.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about that time with the ABCDF1 with your pals, Mr. Gallagher, Katie Fairman, and the founder, Tom Bellingham.
So I've never heard that. Was that Monaco?
Maybe that was new. Or was that Monaco?
I've never
Maybe
heard
that was
jingle.
Monaco.
I've never
maybe
heard that
is a new
before.
one. Sorry, okay, if we've not heard that one. Oh, maybe I was saving this one for Kota. Oh, well. It's a new one. Austria, Kota.
Have you ever heard that, Katie?
Maybe in a dream.
Katie doesn't know if she's heard it.
I'll shout out the person. I'm an American F1 fan who owes a lot of my fandom to WTF1. I thought I might give the ABCDEF1 jingle a little Texas spice. Thank you from Dale Moore.
Thank you, Dale Moore. I've never heard that before. Tommy may have just been listening to it in bed and thought that everybody else had heard it.
Yeah, clearly.
Katie doesn't have a clue if she's heard it, so this is all
I don't
very
know what's
confusing.
going on.
Right, ABCDF1 time now. Let's talk about how the drivers have graded for the Austrian Grand Prix. Let's start with Mick Schumacher. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, little curveball. Boom. A-star.
A-star.
Wow, it doesn't matter, does it now? But Ace, yeah, I think so. Yeah,
What a
A-star.
turnaround.
Yeah, but he wasn't beating his teammate until he had the issue. But
Don't care.
yeah,
P6.
okay, fair.
Mick Schumacher. What a turnaround. Okay, A-star for Mick.
I'm pushing it to a star because of that interview where he got angry.
I love how all of these different variables come in now.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
well, the way you spoke about it. Like, A-star from us, A-star from the fans. K-Mag, A.
Yeah.
Had a problem with his car. Still got
finished
double
P8.
points for Haas.
Yeah, love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. So an A from us and an A from the fans. Zhou Guanyu.
Oh,
He had rotten luck.
Another
Yeah.
weekend where can this guy just have a normal weekend where we get to know how good he is?
Yeah.
Please.
Hard to grade C. Yeah.
I'm going to go B because he did end up going from the back and fought his way through the grid for quite a few occasions. So I'll go B.
Okay. C from us and a C from the fans.
So it's an overall C.
Valtteri Bottas ended up P11. I think that's
He started from the pits as well.
Yeah,
So
okay,
the
B.
penalty.
Yeah, that's true. He did start from the pits. B as well. What do you think, Frank?
What do you think, Frank?
It's a C for me. What do you think, Frank?
Wow.
Yawn if it's a B. Yawn if it's a C. Yawn if it's
Yawn
an
if it's an
A
A.
star.
Yawn if it's an F. Don't yawn if you're not listening.
Anything?
Moving on.
Okay, moving on. So we gave a B to Bottas and a B from the fans for Bottas. Alex Albon, so close to the points, ended up finishing 12th. I think that's a solid B performance. Maybe even an A.
I think if he'd got A if it's points, but
yeah, it's a high B.
harsh penalty in the sprint as well. Very harsh.
Yeah, forcing, was it Lando?
Lando off.
Basically,
Yeah, but then he also tangled with Seb. Like there were quite a few instances.
But then Seb went for a very audacious move around a corner that you do not overtake around. So I think he was kind of asking for it a little bit. Spicy take. B for
I'll
Albon.
go for a B.
Yeah, B.
Yeah.
Okay, B from us and a B from the fans. Next up is Nicholas Latifi. D.
Latifi, hey. Yeah, he had damage floor, but let's be honest, he wasn't going to get points anyway. So, yeah.
No, he was another poor performance, unfortunately, after something promising in Silverstone. A very poor qualifying as well. So a D from us and a D from the fans. Lance Stroll finished 13th and didn't really see anything of him.
He was up there. He was up there at the start.
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
He? Like, is he going to get some
exactly.
kind of random Lance Stroll miracle like P7 out of nowhere again?
But no, he didn't.
He didn't. It was just because he was off strategy.
Yeah, we'll go with C.
It's a C, yeah.
C is fair. I saw on the F1, they do like a cover of what the drivers have said in the media pen afterwards. And a comment said like, Lance Stroll is the only man that can summarize his entire race in under 10 words. And it's very true. Every time it's just like, yeah, it was okay. And then that's literally it.
Honestly,
Did you see the interview with Buxton? I think it was after qualifying, and Buxton was accidentally really savage. He said something like, that's P17. That's your best result in the last 3 races or something." And it was like, "Great, thanks."
Yeah, that was qualifying, wasn't it? Yeah, that was.
Ouch.
That was savage, but yeah, his face said it all. I know we joked about in our latest quizzing F1 fans around other. I don't think there's any Alpine fans that exist, but is there actually Lance Stroll fans? I'm genuinely wondering. How do you become a fan of someone who says less than 10 words in every interview? That's what I would love to know.
Kimi Räikkönen, hello.
Yeah, but Kimi at least has some sass to him. You know what I mean? Wow, Jesus. Okay, yeah. So C from us and a C from the fans. Sebastian Vettel.
A star. No, I'm joking.
Wow.
Your face.
C.
I think it's a D. I guess did he get taken? Yeah,
he got taken out in both the sprint and the race.
I'd say C.
Yeah, C.
Yeah,
it was
C.
poor. But...
Yeah, he was not happy. I think he said they were clowns on the team radio. So
he's
that
been
was
popping off all weekend, doesn't he?
He does not care at all.
It's the B helmet. He doesn't care.
He just wants
Save
one
the
normal
Bs.
race. He's not happy with his competitors. So C from us and a C from the fans. Yuki Tsunoda.
Oh my God, AlphaTauri.
My God,
AlphaTauri.
It's a D.
Yeah, just.
Oh, are you thinking of an E?
Oh, it's so bad, isn't it? AlphaTauri is shocking.
Don't know what's happened
Something
to them.
happened to Yuki because Gasly finished ahead of him. Yeah. Gasly finished ahead of him with 2 5-second penalties.
Yeah.
And a spin. What was Tsunoda doing? Have I just not picked up on this, or was he just terrible?
Yeah, I think he's just bad.
I don't know. I can't confirm.
In that case, I'll give him an E. But I'm sorry, Yuki, if that was something wrong.
I'm sorry, but E. Are you going for an E, or Frank just headbutt your microphone? What are you going for, Tommy?
A D.
D. Okay, D from us and a D from the fans. Gasly, I think he gets a D as well.
Yeah, D.
Way lower than that.
Way lower? Then surely then Yuki gets a... Well, you gave him an E, didn't you?
Gasly's ruining people's races. He ruined Seb's race. He ruined his own race
Hamilton's
by
race,
going over.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, he's
not really
running.
yeah.
He messed up in the sprint. It was just a weekend full of mistakes for him, and I'm really tempted to give him an F, but I'll go for an E.
Okay, I'm going to downgrade and go an E.
Thanks. I don't look such a horrible person.
Yeah. Poor from
Tommy.
Gasly when he's the more experienced driver.
Yeah, exactly. E. Okay, E from us and a D from the fans. Can't wait for Twitter to be like, wow, you gave Gasly an E, but Snowder a D and he finished behind him.
Not for me.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, Esteban Ocon finished a lovely P5. That is a wonderful A performance from Esteban Ocon. Loves some points. Tommy's
what is
making
that face?
It's borderline A star, I think. I think it's like the perfect solid weekend that I know you kind of want to save A stars for because Mick got an A star. So yeah, Ocon A star.
Okay, Ocon A star.
He was glowing. I'm just going to put it out there.
I think he maximized
as are you
everything.
About Bestie.
Quali, sprint, race, maximum from every single one.
Okay,
it's 100th Grand Prix weekend as well this weekend.
Oh, go on, Esteban. Love that. Okay, we'll give him an A star then. And the fans gave him an A. Fernando Alonso. I mean, he had.
Can this guy have some luck, please?
I know, like the tyre blanket.
Can we get an Alonso
onesie?
That's actually not a bad idea.
I
genuinely think I would never need to buy clothes for Grace again if I set up like a PO box and people, because the amount of people are like, I'm going to send her this. I want to send her
Make
this.
a PO box right now, Tommy, and you will be flooded with onesies.
I would.
And when Grace grows up, you'll be screwed because you won't know what to do with them. But yeah, Fernando Alonso had no luck whatsoever. Such a shame because I was looking forward to seeing what he could do in the sprint. Let's give him a B. Finished 10th.
I'm going to give him an A. Because he just got massively screwed over by Alpine. They fitted him with tyres that had bad vibrations, so then he had to literally do double pit stop. He got messed over at the start of the sprint with the car not turning on. It's not looking good, bruv. If you're Fernando Alonso,
it's not looking good, bruv.
That's a meme, though.
Yeah, but it's just funny that
Does he not say bruv?
It's just I was waiting for hun or babe or chicken or whatever.
Bruv.
Bruv was just. This is Katie without a cup of tea. She's bruv and fam and
roadman Katie. I haven't got a cup of tea.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think it's a.
You said a B.
Bay.
It's a bay.
It's a bay.
Right,
now Tommy's getting all.
No, it's an A.
An A.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. An A for Fernando Alonso, and the fans gave him a B. Daniel Ricciardo, P9. It was all right. Not too bad.
All right, yeah.
I'd say a B.
What he should be doing. Yeah, B is good.
Tommy?
C.
Wow.
I can't give him a B. Got knocked out in Q1. Knocked out in Q1. Turned it around, finishing 9th in a McLaren.
He got some points is a rare occurrence for Daniel Ricciardo.
I
think that's patronising to give Danny Rick a B for 9th.
Well, I'm going to double down and say B.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I'm going C.
And what are you going with, Katie?
B.
You're just an old man, Tommy. He's just such a boomer. No, love it.
Yeah.
So B from us, and the fans gave him a B as well. So everybody's patronising, apparently.
Yeah, they are.
Lando Norris, P7.
B.
He was looking decent.
B.
I think it's a high B compared to Daniel Ricciardo's low B. But still
Who's
a B.
getting them with the high Bs, eh?
No, I'm just making sure Tommy's not like, we can't keep so yeah, a B from us and a B from the fans. Carlos Sainz. A.
Yeah, he looked a lot more on Leclerc's pace this weekend, didn't he? Like, a lot closer to him and battling him in the sprint. It is an A. Yeah.
Okay, an A from us and an A from the fans. Charles Leclerc A star.
He's meant to get pole though, isn't he? That's part.
Oh,
should have won the sprint.
Yeah, God. Sorry, it's big brain strats. He knows that he can't convert a win when he gets pole, so he got second because he knows that's how to break the curse. Charles Leclerc's first victory that wasn't from pole position.
Yeah, that's wild, isn't it?
And how many victories has he had?
5 now.
Yeah, so it's wonderful. What a moment.
Yeah, A star is A star.
A-star.
Feeling.
82% of you voted A star for Charles Leclerc. 17.3% voted A. So there's hardly anybody that thought it was below that, which is wonderful. Sergio,
Matt's hacked the sheet.
I have, yeah. They are all me, all my burner accounts. Sergio Perez. This is a hard one. C.
This is difficult. B, I'm going to go for. Because
really
he
good
got
in the
mugged
sprint,
off with
wasn't he?
with the qualifying
Good in
and
the
the
sprint,
FIA
screwed
having
up
their
the
eyes
race.
shut. And then he made his way through the sprint, which you could argue he should do because he's in a fast car. But then he was just a little bit ambitious. Yeah, I'm going to go the B. Why not?
Okay, fair enough. So we gave him a C.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Because he put himself in that position, I think, with his poor qualifying. But yeah, so C from us and a C from the fans. Max Verstappen, A.
A.
Yeah, not much more he could have done really, but it's still not an A star because you kind of got to reserve that for a win, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to win. So yeah, A from us and an A from the fans. George Russell. Depends how you see the penalty, but I'm going to go with a B.
C.
A C for P4.
No, because he recovered, didn't he? Yeah.
Have a word.
I was just thinking of crashed in quali, but he recovered. So
P4,
yeah,
my,
B.
you finished P4, my lad.
Fam. Bruv.
Rafting.
Brethren.
Brethren. I'll go for a B.
Yeah,
Cool.
B. Fair enough.
Okay. B from us and B from the fans. And Lewis Hamilton finished third, and it's an A.
An A.
It's an A.
Three,
A, yes.
three
Yes.
P3s in a row, which is wild to say that his Austrian Grand Prix weekend was very different to Silverstone in terms of pace and stuff.
Yeah.
But still the same result.
Mercedes just always there, ready when Red Bull and Ferrari start tripping over themselves.
Madness.
And I think 3 podiums in the last 3 show that is the case. And also Hamilton driving very well at the moment as well. So yeah, A from us and an A from the fans. Let's go to the Austrian GP predictions. I went for a Mercedes podium. Ding ding. And Latifi outqualifies Albon on the Friday, which absolutely did not happen by any stretch of the imagination. Thank you, Latifi.
You were on the Latifi hype train.
I was like, come on, let's have 2 races in a row where we don't say Latifi's washed. But no, unfortunately, it was only 1. Katie.
I went for, and
This
I'm
is
going to
good.
claim this.
This is
This is a
good.
good one, right? Max wins the sprint, but not the race.
That's very good. Well done.
Thank you.
Very good.
I think we even roasted you for being too specific with that one.
Yeah,
and you
you
went
smashed
for it
it.
anyway and you smashed it. So fair play.
Well done.
Oh. And then impeding drama in qualifying, but I don't think anybody got
Track
impeded in
limits.
quali.
Yeah.
I should have gone for track limits. Damn
Yeah.
it. So only one. But it's a good one.
Tommy.
I went for Ricardo out in Q1, which he was. And
Well done.
Albon in the points, which was looking
So
good,
close.
but he was looking quite quick. But no, sadly not.
1 point for all of us. Well done.
Wow.
The fans. Retco 7. Verstappen P1. No. Ty Kangas 30. Both Aston Martins out in Q1. Yes.
Oh, that did happen.
That did happen, didn't it? That did definitely happen. Should we check?
Yeah, it did.
Because
yeah.
Seb was last and Stroll didn't
yeah.
go through.
And Isaac Crevens, George top 5, has double points, and a surprise new podium finisher for the season.
Went too specific.
Oh, Is Hamilton
2 out of 3.
It's new podiums. Damn. If it said surprise podium finishes, we may have been able to swear
Imagine
to,
if Ocon had got on the podium. That would have been the worldy prediction to get
imagine.
them all.
That would have
would
been
have
like,
been.
do you remember that person that commented on
Yeah,
our YouTube?
The really specific
It was
thing.
like Mazepin will have more penalty points than actual points.
Actual points.
Sainz will beat. Sainz
McLaren
will
will win
beat
a race but not finish in the top
3.
3.
Yeah. And then Sainz would beat Leclerc in the championship. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, I mean,
it was so
absolutely
specific.
The odds that he would have got on that would have been ridiculous. Okay, and then France predictions. I've gone for Mick Schumacher points. We're on that hype train. And Vettel makes it out of Q1. Come on, lad. You've got this. Katie.
I've gone for no Ferraris in the top 5 because last
How
year, 2 Ferraris
dare
had an
you.
absolute shocker with tyre deg.
They did.
So who knows? And then Gasly involved in another spin. Sorry, Gasly.
Oh,
Ouch.
Gasly's now the wash driver.
Now,
I've gone
Tommy.
I've
what
gone
is
for
this?
a Mercedes win. I'm going bold. And multiple track limit penalties. So basically more than
How many is multiple? No, come on. More than one. Have a word with yourself.
Three or more.
Three or more.
Three or more.
No, three or more. More than three.
And amend
That's
that
what allowed.
document.
No,
more
three or more.
No,
three or
more
more is a lot for a race.
Okay, 3+. Okay, I'll allow
And
that.
that's in the race, and that's them getting 5 seconds.
Yes.
We're not specifying.
Yeah. No, hold on.
Track
You
limit
can't have a track limit
penalties.
delete. No, a
Yeah, so
deletion
that's
is not
5
the same as
seconds.
penalties.
Yeah,
So
penalties. So it's fine.
5-second penalties. Okay. Now look at Tommy. He's absolutely
Also, can we
hating
just say how ridiculous it is that a 5-second penalty, like it's the same time penalty for going over track
Yeeting
limits
someone.
to actually ruining somebody's race. That's ridiculous. But anyway,
What would you do, Katie?
Yeah, come on, Katie.
10 seconds for causing a
For
collision. not
yeeting, 5 seconds for.
Yeah, maybe even a 10-second stop and go. If
But I
I'm
think
feeling harsh.
they do it on the severity, though, don't they? So they
Like
it
Hamilton
depends
and
on
Silverstone got that, didn't
drive through, didn't it?
all of them.
Yeah. All
10
of them.
second drive through.
Minimum is okay. Minimum 10 seconds. Okay. Fans.
Sorry, I was going to say long lap MotoGP. That's what they need for track limits.
What does that mean?
I was just about to say
They have
the
to do a
next
little extra thing.
Like a
Joker
Joker
lap.
lap
Yeah.
around the car park.
That would be so much more exciting than a 5-second penalty. I'm sorry.
It would make it.
Every track would have to change,
Jeopardy
apart
as well.
from Paul Ricard.
Paul
who was so
Ricard
ready
is
for it.
great.
Well,
Let's do Paul
they've got a lot
Ricard.
of them there, but they're currently too thin at the moment because they're made for bikes. But
That's even better. If it's just a literally as wide as an F1 car.
Ruin their tyres as they go past the other funny lines.
Right, fans. I was in the middle of going Twooland because that's the name of the thing, but then Tommy started speaking. So I was like, Alpine on the podium. Okay. Underscore Albert underscore 46. Leclerc and Verstappen collide. Please no. JMS 101190. Third Ferrari win in a row. Oh yeah, we're 2 on the bounce at the moment. God. It doesn't feel like it because British Grand Prix, whatever. Right. Frank, what do you think? Any thoughts from me? Oh, mate, you look absolute like.
He's zonked.
Oh, yeah.
wow, final thoughts. Very interesting.
That was a really good point, actually. He said
Better
that
than
Max
my final
Verstappen's
thoughts.
washed, and he said he's going to eat every Verstappen onesie that comes through the post box. I'm counting on you, Frank. I really am. Katie, final thoughts?
My final thoughts is that I hope that everybody that suffered any kind of harassment at the Grand Prix at the weekend is okay. And if you reach out to me via email or I can open my DMs and I can help in any way, let me know. If not, I hope you've had a nice day.
Okay. Tommy.
Well, it's hard not to echo your thoughts and say something similar that, I'm desperate for a race weekend where we just don't hear about like awful things happening, basically, and just crowd trouble and crappy things like that, because it's such a shame to hear about it. We all want to enjoy Formula One. Everyone deserves to enjoy Formula One. And let's hope it gets sorted out because it's such a shame.
Frank also is
agrees.
agreeing with that. And I echo both of your sentiments. I think I'll leave it on a more positive note that I'm looking forward to Charles Leclerc winning again in France. The championship is back on. Tommy never thought it was off, but I'm just, I'm going to constantly keep channeling that. And hopefully the onesie doesn't arrive anytime soon, Tommy. Otherwise, just let us know. And I can pop round for a coffee and
destroy it.
And destroy absolutely everything in your house. So cool. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. Hashtag WTF1 podcast if you want to get involved in the discussion. Remember, we've got loads of Twitch Hot Take Wednesday things coming on Twitch, as well as other Twitch streams, and obviously the French Grand Prix as well, and stuff like that. So go and check us out on Twitch, WTF1 official. And that is pretty much it. Thank you very much, Frank, for your opinions and thoughts as well. And to Team WTF1 for watching live. If you want to join Team WTF1, it's WTF1.com/Team WTF1. Isn't it? I think so.
Sure is.
I should probably know the URL by now. Okay, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Frank. Oh, look at his little paw waving. Bye, Frank. Rip the onesie up.